Miami. I'm in Miami, and it's like you can't even go outside unless you have to have a hat on, or there has to be a
Oh,
shade like 5 steps away, or you will melt. It's
Is it
crazy,
oh
really
my
humid
goodness.
there too? Is it really
crazy,
humid?
yeah, crazy. Yeah, the heat down here is, and the
Yeah.
humidity, so you can't escape the sweat. You can't escape nothing. The heat, sweat, nothing. But I remember we were filming and it was freezing, so I'll take this any day.
Listen, that club night scene, I was like,
Yeah. You made sure you
Y'all
knew
were
your lines
freezing.
that night.
those poor girls in those little dresses.
Yeah,
Oh
yo,
man.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah, man. We had
hey,
the
they were
extras casting
troopers.
towards the back.
Hmm.
Had heaters back there. People have no idea, man, when you shoot and they don't, they can't really sometimes can't see the weather or how warm, hot or cold it is. But it was freezing that night. We shot November through
It
January in the
was.
winter of Atlanta. So yeah, man.
Sometimes the clues are in your breath. We can see
Right.
the breath,
Oh
the
yeah.
little
Right,
coldness in your breath.
and the clothes, and the clothes. We had jackets and sweaters and stuff
Yeah.
on, but you can't feel the weather. You could just imagine that it might be cold, but that was
Oh,
cold.
Yeah.
I had a question. So the scene that I think it was last episode when you guys were on the porch and then it just starts to rain. Was that real rain,
Oh, you
Thomas.
mean
Thomas?
you mean me and Omar and Naomi
Yeah,
Yeah.
was it
Right.
real
at,
rain?
at the end of the episode? No, no, there wasn't real
Oh,
rain. That
because I thought I
was
was like, that's so Atlanta for it to be beautiful and then just start pouring. So I was
no,
curious.
no, no. That was pretty. We had one take, actually one take at the end of the night, and they had this machine rigged where the water sprayed out as if it was rain,
Oh,
and then they had lights flash in the background for lightning.
yeah.
We only had one take. We had one opportunity to get it, and we got it. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
meant
You
to
I
did a
thought
be.
it
great
was
job.
real.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, but like, I watched that too, Jessica. I saw that same thing and I was like, this is such great cinematography because the way that it all went together, the music was just talking about, you don't know how I feel, then it's raining on Omar. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is beautiful. This
I
is
know, and I
beautiful.
thought I was like, wow, that's so cool that it rained that day. How lucky were we? Like, I literally thought that I didn't, and I've been doing this forever, and I still forget that, like, this is not real.
It's
I was like,
production,
Yeah,
right?
so
yeah. Shout
cool.
out to Gino Brooks, who directed episode 5, and Sten Olsen, a DP, like, and the crew. I mean, they all made it happen, and then obviously me and Kalila, we timed it up perfect. So yeah,
Definitely.
it really put a little emphasis on that last scene, put a little button on it.
It was
It did.
wonderful. And you know what? Speaking of that scene, there is so much to talk about with that. But let's get started, you guys, because we've got some people already chiming in. They talk about they love the show. I would like to welcome everyone who's watching into another live chat with the cast of Johnson on Bounce. My name is Robin Ayers. You can catch me here every single week talking to these amazing people, these talented actors who play some really great characters on this show. Let me introduce, because for the very first time, we've got Jessica Luza, who plays Lisa Johnson, who's
Hi.
married to Jarvis Johnson on the show, which is played by Derek Brady. Welcome back, Derek. How you doing today?
Hey, hey, what's going on now? Good to be back.
Very good to see you. And Kalila Joy, it's so good to have you back. You shining as always, my love. You are just beautiful. You're working
Thank
it.
you.
The color looks great. I mean, all of
Thank
the
you.
above. You play Naomi on this show, who is going through a little something something with Omar. Just a little something something who by the amazing Thomas Q. Jones, who is also the showrunner for the show. So, you guys,
Hey.
welcome. Thank you so much for joining me again on the show. It's always great to talk to you guys.
Robin.
That scene, getting back to that scene where Naomi and Omar, it's just heart wrenching because you're just like, you. I'm a sucker for love. I'm like, I love love, and I want you guys to reconcile, or I want them to reconcile on the show. But something came up in that conversation. Naomi was like, "Listen, you want me to submit?" I mean, she talked about submission, which is a big, big topic, especially in today's society. It looks a little bit different. And before I get to you guys, and I want to know everything that you got to say about the topic, we also have some submission in different aspects with Jarvis and Lisa as well. So I want to talk to you guys about that and what is it that you think submission means in today's day and age? What does that mean in a relationship, whether single, married, as well as y'all know? Tell me what
Mhm.
tell me what you think it means. Anybody can jump in. Do you want me to pick someone?
Kalila,
Khalila, go
Kalila,
ahead,
you look
Khalila.
like you ready to come
Go
on,
ahead,
speak on
Khalila.
it.
Okay, so this could be like a touchy subject, this word
Yep.
submission, and only speaking for myself, I don't believe submission has a place in a relationship. I believe relationships should be partnerships, and I don't think that sex organs determine who should be in control in any given situation. I think if you have a partnership, if you're in a relationship, everybody has strengths. So depending on what you guys are going through or what you're talking about, you may lean on his strengths for something, he may lean on yours. And I think that's okay. But I don't think because one person has testicles, another person has ovaries, they have the final say. So that idea of submission to me, I think is antiquated when it's broken strictly down on gender rules. If you're talking about levels of expertise, that's different.
Wow. What that's very well put. I mean, I got to give it to you there. Derek's, I don't know, brother. You're smiling
You
over
wanna
there,
follow
and
that?
partly laughing.
I
I mean,
thought you
what
was
you
gonna
got to
go to
say about it?
Thomas.
It was you. Your facial expressions gave it away. What is it that you want to say about
I mean,
or
I
you
feel
can
like
respond to Kalila.
I feel like, look, the thing is, submission's going to be a sensitive issue, right? But I feel like it's in the context and from the person that you're with, right? Being submissive doesn't mean being controlled or being told what to do, and then that's it and final. There's a respect there and a love and a trust, right? But a husband has to earn that. It's not just given because you're entitled because you're the husband and you got testicles. It's because God has entrusted that husband with his daughter. And so if he earns that, then submissive just means I'm going to respect and trust you. We're going to walk this side by side. Your voice matters. My voice matters. And at the end of the day, we're going to come together and be unified on it. But I do, in trying to lead the family, have a voice in what the direction is. But it's still all with respect. And it's also, it's coming to being unified. It's not just a slave driver, just boom, that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's communication.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Derek, because back in the day, this would not have been this type of topic because submission was almost just a thing that we assumed it just was. No one questioned submission, no one challenged it because
Right.
typically speaking, men would go to work. They would be the head of the household. Women would just submit to their man, to their husbands, or significant other. But nowadays, we have such a different generation. Like, we'll go back to the show for a second. Let's just take Lisa and Jarvis's relationship, where, you know, it's seemingly, now I could be wrong about this, but seemingly she is probably in a better position than Jarvis right now, even though he's successful as far as his company is concerned. She seemed like she's founded, she's established, she's got work, and he's going through some things with his business. Things look like this in our day and age, right? Things look like a woman is powerful. She also has a say so. So can you give me your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts, Jessica, as far as a man and a woman? Do they coexist? I mean, is there submission nowadays? Like, tell me what that looks like for you.
Absolutely. First of all, I'm very flattered that you think Lisa is like killing it at her job.
I said seemingly. It could be wrong. Seemingly.
If that one day she was at her laptop, you were like, oh, she's working.
That's the one.
Well, what I find interesting is, like, yes, I get the core of it. Submissive kind of has those gender stereotypes, but I also think if you just think about the word, like, to submit, it's also compromise. So it's like someone could submit and be like, I don't want to watch this on Netflix, but I do want to watch this. Okay, it doesn't mean someone is the authoritarian or the authoritative person. It's so much about compromise, and I think, for me, and I also think with Lisa and Jarvis, or Derek, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for them, like, it's a lot of, we don't know everything going behind, and I think it's a lot of compromise, and I think it's a lot of partnership, and maybe when we're seeing, like, maybe you know, we can say, oh, he's submitting and he's saying, okay, fine, I'll take that meeting. But it's not really, it's like compromising for the greater good of their marriage and for the greater good of, she just wants them to, you know, do well and maybe have kids and provide and all these things. Like it's, but I wouldn't, like that word, I don't know. I do feel like it's just so antiquated. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone should have to submit. I mean, yes, we all have to compromise. And I like that word better.
Compromise. I like that word too.
I will say though, I think that, you know, if there's a stalemate, then there's got to be someone that says, okay, hey, this is where we're coming to on this one. Let's take my lead and let's go this way. Otherwise, you could just be at a stalemate. So I
Yeah.
think in that situation, I do think that the husband would lead that way, but it's out of respect and it's out of love and it's out of communication. I do feel
Or you
that.
can flip a coin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, no, I just don't agree with that. Like we've come to an impasse. We don't agree. And because I'm the husband, we're going this way. No, we can flip a coin. And just for clarity, because I'm a Virgo, just lean in, y'all. Submission is defined as the action or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior force or to the will or authority of another person.
I thought you were going to say
That is,
Wait, Kalila, I just want to give you props real quick because I literally have the definition pulled up on my phone right now.
I just wanted to be clear.
I was
I
about
want
to
to be
read
clear.
it. Good job. Thomas, let's hear from you. You're pretty quiet over there, but I'm sure you have a stance on the word submission.
No, I'm not quiet. I'm
Okay.
just letting everybody else talk. I mean, I think it's about what works for your relationship. You know, religion plays a big part of that. You know, I mean, in Christianity, it speaks of that in the Bible. And if you're a Christian, you know what that means. You understand what that principle and that concept is. It's up to each person to, live by that standard or not. Sometimes, we make our own rules. I guess, it just depends on what works for you. I think it's about what the expectations are of each person. If a man is supposed to lead the household, based off of what it says in the Bible, then we know what submission means. If that's not the case, and if it's not a traditional relationship, then it could go either way. So personally, I feel like I'm a more traditional man. I feel like me being able to provide protection, resources, not sole leadership, but somebody breaks in the house, I'm supposed to protect my significant other and my children. That's my job. And my significant other, somebody has to take care of the kids if something happens to me. But that's just my perspective. It's not right or wrong. It is what it is. It's 2021. There's a lot of new rules nowadays. A lot of people believe parts of one thing and parts of something else. You know what I'm saying? So, it's all about, I guess, what works for the individual person. And, they know that individual, that person knows that they're being true to whatever that the principles they live by are.
Right.
And sometimes people like to straddle the fence, or they make it true to them. But whatever works for somebody individually is what works for them.
Yeah. And to your point, Thomas, shout out to Sabrina who just said the Bible says both should submit to one another. And so, I think there are so many different rules. We've just kind of created our own, and we've broken down what that traditional term of submission means. Kalila, I think you not only broke it down, you threw it out the window, which is fine. That's totally fine.
But let me ask you a question. In regards to tradition, is it cool to still have your own rules aside from the traditional rules that you may believe in that deal with whatever religion you believe in? Is that cool, or is that kind of the cool thing to do? I think that's kind of the question that a lot of people have to ask, because I know that there are specific gender roles that I think femininity and masculinity naturally bring, right? I think it's natural for a woman to feel good about a man opening a door for her, or walking on the outside of the sidewalk and letting her walk on the inside. That's not every woman, that's not every man, but I think there's a femininity and masculinity energy that's just natural, that's there in all of us. So I feel like if it's gonna be equal across the board, then it should be equal across the board all the way, right? There shouldn't be, moments where a woman or a man is, feels obligated to do something because they're a woman or a man. So I would just say you have to pick a side. You can't make it when it's convenient for you personally. If it's going to be equal across the board, then I feel like it should be equal across the board. That way, there's no confusion.
Let me ask you guys a question, and feel free to jump in. Khalil, I don't know if you were getting ready to say something. Okay. Just a quick question on that. Submission and treating one as the head of the household, are those two different things? Because I think you can say that there's a head of the household, like my man is the head of the household, right? Is that different than submission? Does that look different? What are your opinions about that?
Me?
Just in general, like I'm just throwing the question out there.
I think, I mean, like I said, depending on what you believe in, in the Bible, it's, I think my interpretation is that, the man is the head of the household in regards to being responsible for taking care of that family, leadership, being held to a high standard that he has to hold his family to. But like I said, that could vary for different people and what parts they take from it that matter to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I think that, like I said, it's 2021. There are a lot of new rules. There are a lot of new ideals that work for different people. The entertainment industry's changed. A lot of, there's this equality across the board, which I love and I appreciate. So I think it just depends on whatever's comfortable for that person and whatever they take from, whether it's, the Bible, Islam, whatever religion or whatever they believe. It doesn't matter what religion it is. I think whatever they take from that, as long as it makes sense to them, then it makes sense to them.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think what Thomas said is very much relevant because there's so many, we're all individuals, and what works for one person is not going to work for the other person and vice versa. And I do love, Thomas, what you said, like, if you're going to subscribe to this ideal based on, for example, your religious beliefs, then you need to keep that same energy. Because, and this is not just for Christianity, but I'll say that for this point, there are a lot of Christians who are Christian on one thing and not so much on another. So if you're going to throw that out me as it being a part of the Bible, then you better be the best Christian a Christian can be. Like, don't, just pick it and choose. And if that's what you're going to do, then stick with it. And the same thing about equality. Like, I am a type of person, I don't want a head of the household. I want a partnership in my relationship. The person I'm dating is very traditional in terms of masculine, feminine energy, and that's fine. So, like, he does the things that Thomas says. And because that's what he wants to do, I have no problem with that. I'm not going to be one of those people like, I can do it myself. No, that's not necessary.
Out my own door.
Right. Like, we can still coexist and have our beliefs and ideals as long as we're able to communicate and still be effective together. Like, it just works. So I think, like Thomas said, you just have to decide what partnership you want.
And I think so much of it's not like the sexy part of relationships, but it's the communication and the expectations, which are not always good, but sometimes there is an expectation of like, hey, this might be a little stereotypical, but like, I like it when you as the man take out the trash. Is that an okay thing? And a guy might be like, yeah, that's totally my thing, or not, whatever. But it's like, instead of just jumping to conclusions or expectations or judgment, if you just talk about everything and you have an open, because it's like, we're all raised so different, and what we saw growing up, it's right or wrong or whatever, and it doesn't mean that we want to replicate it and we want to kind of mold it into our own. And so I also think it's just like, I agree with Thomas. It's like, as long as you know who you are and you're authentic to you and you bring that to the relationship, and the other person also hopefully shows up 100% as themselves, and then you can both be authentic and then continue to grow and create something. And again, it's not the sexy part, because it's the it's just the hard work of the behind part of the relationship.
I think that's what I was talking about when I was saying that something has to be earned. Talking about what Cleveland said, the same energy. That's the thing I think my wife saw, is like, oh, okay, so you're keeping the same traditional energy here, and you're also keeping it over here. Okay, and that's earned, right? That's not just entitled. So I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna also agree with Thomas on that. I think that it definitely depends on what you all decide in your relationship, but I
Hmm.
think that sometimes it's probably just a balance of things. And I think that if you're with your partner for so long, you kind of fall into sort of some roles, and everything is just a balance. Like, I don't mind if he takes out the trash, and it could be assumed, but I also don't mind taking out the trash. You will see me lugging,
Right.
some bags, you know what I'm saying, with
Hey,
these
I'm gonna
strong
tell you
arms
right
all the
now,
time.
my wife's not doing it. She's not
See?
doing it, and she don't even feel bad about it. She's like, that's what it is. It's full.
Right. But then
Listen.
I got to tell you, I've seen several, social media is pretty entertaining on this subject alone, because you've got blogs out there who talk about things like this all the time, where the younger, it is this generation and younger. And I'm not knocking nobody. Listen, I'm not knocking anybody who wants to have whatever type of submission or lack thereof in their relationship. By all means, more power to you. But I think the young ladies, the women nowadays are like, listen, like Kalila, you said, I could do it by myself. I got this, on my own. And, if that works for you, then that works for you. But let me ask you, because going back to that head of household versus submission thing, we saw a quick scene that I want to address between Jarvis and Lisa when you were in the line at Slutty Vegan, and or I'm saying the restaurant, right? Because
Right.
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Shout
Say,
out
say
to
it.
them.
Yes.
Shout out to them. I have not had one of their burgers yet, but I hear it is amazing.
It's
So next
amazing.
next time
It's
I'm in
good.
Atlanta,
Really
I definitely got to check them out.
Yeah.
But that quick scene where somebody, the couple behind you, had a problem with the fact that your two friends joined in the line, and Derek's your character Jarvis said, you know what, I'll pay for your meal. That is
Right.
sort of ahead of, but you also looked to Lisa and said, right, like you kind of got her, okay on that. Is that being head of household? Is that Lisa? Was that Lisa submitting? I mean,
I
what do
think
you
that
think
was.
in
I
that
Oh,
think
of
that
course.
was.
situation?
I think that was Jarvis making sure to be unified with his wife because they're spending their money. Right. It's not my
Mhm.
money. It's their money.
Okay,
So
yeah,
I'm like saying, listen, to keep this, to squash this, so that it can stay smooth. Look, I'm gonna pay for the meal. It's all good. Don't worry about it. But when he said and pay for my wife's too,
right,
okay, so now you dipping into our pockets deeper. So let me make sure that Lisa got it is good. She gave me
Yeah.
the nod, like we could do that.
like we could,
So
yeah.
that was
Yeah.
communication and being unified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one part of it that's financial, right? What does that look like when someone is submitting to the other because of that person making a in a better financial situation.
Mm.
But in the case of Omar and Naomi, Naomi has their son. She's got their son. She's basically saying to Omar, you can come or can't come. She's sort of making the rules. So when she said, you can come over to see our son, and I love that entire scene. I love the scene at the table where you're talking to him, and you're first of all, because I'm the type that'd be like, yeah, you got him right. He ain't gonna mess with you no more, right? Like, so I have to. So
Go with
I
Jarvis.
gotta give you.
Go with Kalila.
So
Listen.
Kalila would say that, right? Yeah. So I was like, yeah, but then I was like, all right, okay, settle down. I get it. But in that, but in that scene when you guys were talking on the porch, trying to, come to some resolve about the situation, I mean, still kind of sits. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I actually wanted to just pinpoint that, because even for the people who are viewing this right now, let's pinpoint and talk about some things as to what you believe. It's not financial. We're not talking about it, and
Mm.
I know that Naomi says everything is about money, but we're not necessarily talking about it in that moment. We're talking about, control, or maybe not control, but in that way, are you the one to be submitted to? Is Naomi the one to be submitted to for Omar, in your
Mm.
opinion? Kalila.
Um, I don't know. Are you asking, does she want him to submit and just let her run shit?
Yes, because ironically, Naomi said that to him, like, you want me to submit,
Hmm.
Mm.
right?
I do think where they are in their relationship now, it's gotten to a point where Naomi does want to call the shots.
Yeah.
They've been married, they've been through some things already. But I think when you have been through something and have decided, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I want things to go the way I want them to go. I do think she is in a position where she's like, no, I want to go to court because I don't want to have to ask you
Mm.
permission or you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, are you gonna come pick up Caleb? I want it to be like this, so I don't have to worry about it. So I think to a certain extent, she just wants to be in control of the situation
So
and
control.
have it handled so that she doesn't have to compromise anymore. I think that's true.
Yeah. Thomas, let me just say, I'm rooting for Omar, okay? You know, you got my love.
Everybody
I
is.
think everybody's like
Hey,
sitting there like,
Thank
we
he said
you.
there with you,
everybody.
Omar. We
I don't know. I don't know if I am yet because
really.
I don't know why they got divorced. We don't know why yet, right? Like
It's
literally,
coming.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
As a viewer, I do not know. I wasn't privy to all of the scripts, so I don't know
Yeah.
why they got divorced. So I need that knowledge, and then I will decide who's team
Thank
I'm
you,
on.
Jessica. Thank
That's
you,
I'm
fair.
girl.
going for my
That's
boy
fair.
Omar. I see what a good man he is and how much he loves his son. I see him working hard. I'm for Omar.
I'm
But
for
remember,
Omar too. Just as a viewer, I am for Omar.
Yeah.
I just know that our first scene, Derek's when Lisa's like, "We need to hang out with married friends," and you're like, "Omar," I'm like, "Yeah, but he's getting a divorce." So
Well,
like, I'm thinking,
reality is this, you know, and I'll say this. That scene was powerful because there are a lot of couples that are going through divorces, that have been through the divorces, custody battles, and it's tough. It's hard on the family, and it's even harder on the kid.
Yeah.
And I do think a lot of times, you know, the parents are selfish in those situations, and they don't think about the kid. And the kid is watching, he's learning, he's listening, he's feeling, he's taking all that information in, and you don't really understand the impact you're having on his future and how he could potentially see marriage and potentially see kids. And it's a negative effect. You know, sometimes we think kids don't really understand, but we were all kids at one point, so
Yeah.
we know. We do. You mirror what your parents do or whoever your guardian does. So I think in the best case scenario for anybody going through a divorce is to put your feelings to the side, put your emotions to the side, think about your kid. If the mother and the father both want to be in there, they want to be in the household, allow both of them to be a part of the child's life. I don't care. Nothing good necessarily comes from a single parent home.
Yeah.
If you don't have to come from that home, it's best not to. It's best to come because a man and a woman have something different to offer a child, something that they learn from both of them equally, as equally as important in their growth, as well as them when they have future kids. But it's complex. It's not simple. But you know, my advice to any couple that's going through that situation would be, because I was fortunate to have both of my parents there through thick and thin. That's all I know. But I also have friends who didn't have their parents there, and I see how they are, in ways that I would never judge them because I understand they don't have the same background that I do.
Yeah.
But I would say if you're a mother and a father that are going through a custody battle, put your feelings to the side for the sake of the kid if each parent wants to be there. Because if not, you're doing your kid an injustice and you're putting your feelings before the kid. That's just my personal opinion.
okay, well now I want them to work out.
Yeah,
Now I'm
Jessica.
like,
Oh
you
yeah,
guys
yeah,
together for
yeah,
Caleb.
yeah,
Jeez, Omar,
There's
come on.
there's love between Omar and Naomi. You see,
Definitely.
you
Oh
can
You can
yeah.
see it,
see it. You can
and
tell. Yeah.
once everyone finds out, you know what the issue was, it's very complex, and this happens a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, and I'm very proud of Deji LeRae, the creator of the show, and the writer, you know, because like collectively we like nurtured some of these storylines to try to make it very honest and complex. So it's not the typical storyline you see about a man cheating or
Right.
a
Yeah.
man doing some of these other things. It's very complex, and it's something that I think is going to touch a lot of people, especially women,
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
I don't think women think that men think this way, or we pay attention to all the specifics of their life, but we really do. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for people to see what happened to get them to this point. But we got a
Me
minute
too.
I
before
know. So
episode
yeah,
6.
I just and I wanted to say that
Yes.
that's another thing that I love about the show. The fact that we're seeing different sides of what we would normally see, what's portrayed out there, especially with four black men specifically. But you guys
Right.
are killing it. Thank you so much again for joining tonight. I know you guys are going to be on Twitter tweeting back. You guys, for the
Yes.
viewers who are watching, make sure you go right now. There's another episode tonight, right after this live chat where you can go and you can tweet the cast members and you can tweet
Yeah.
Johnson on Bounce, and they will answer you back. They will answer all your questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Hey, come for another episode next Sunday. We'll
Yes.
see you guys
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Robin.
guys.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Thank you,
so
Robin.
much.
See
Thank
you
you,
on
everybody.
Twitter. Let's go. Episode
Let's
Go
go.
On
Twitter.
Twitter.
Tweet with us.
On Twitter.
Hey.
Let's go.